How important is the Constitution to the future of our country, and how will the Constitution play a role in the way you make decisions?
Well, of course, the Constitution is the document that we live by. I've studied it. I have a little bit different take on the Constitution than Mike Lee does, and I'm actually looking forward to having some pretty good debates about that with him. But again, it is the foundation. But we have to go back and take a look at what the Founding Fathers went through. They went through the same debates and the same discussions that we're having right now, believe it or not. We had people that said, what was the proper role of government? Should Congress have the power to be able to regulate business? There were some that said yes, there were some that said no. But the bottom line is that the Constitution dictates everything that we do. It's where we get our power. It's how we have discussions like we're having now. To me, it's a very important document. And we certainly have the three branches that determine how that works for us. The legislative branch makes the laws. Now, Mike Lee would tell you that what we have to do is that we have to, as congressmen, as senators, that we have to pass laws that strictly follow whether it's constitutional or not. Now, I, of course, disagree with that. I say that what our job is as legislators is to come up with the laws. Certainly we can have a guidance that says this is constitutional or this isn't, but it's not going to be up to us to be able to make that decision. It's going to be left in the judiciary, and that's where the Constitution, the Supreme Court... Well, I guess I've read the wrong Constitution, though. The judiciary has for 220 years determined what's constitutional and what's not. If we want to change that, we have to do it through a constitutional amendment. And I would wholeheartedly support that. But to simply say it's not there, we can't do that.
30 seconds, Senator Bob Bennett.
Obviously, the Constitution is our founding and basic document. And obviously, every member of Congress should use the Constitution as a scale against which everything is weighed before making a decision as to how you would vote. I have done that, and I have been voted down because other people have done the same thing and come to a different conclusion about what the Constitution is. I would note that there were at least 2 senators who taught constitutional law with whom I significantly disagreed on the Constitution. They were named Obama and Biden.
We have a Constitution that's written in plain English. Words have meanings. Those meanings may be known. It is a written binding contract. It is an oath that every senator and congressman, everyone that holds office, takes an oath to uphold. It is something that if we do not return to that Constitution, this nation will not survive. And it is something that I believe the primary, most important, and single issue is to get everyone that holds office to abide that oath, to uphold that Constitution. If we would do that, all the problems of America could be solved in a very logical manner. Thank you.
How important is the Constitution? It's critical, but it is being ignored today. The original intent of the Constitution was to create a free enterprise system, protect us from government. It was to limit government. Do you think government is limited today? Government is overreaching and taking rights and freedoms away at every turn. The original intent of the Constitution is being ignored. And we're making it harder and harder for businesses and families to succeed because we are not getting back to a free enterprise, free market system, which is what has made this country great. Every time the government takes another right, another power, another law that they pass, they diminish our ability to succeed in the private sector. We've got to fight against that. If I'm your senator, that's what I'll do.
Tim's right. The purpose of the Constitution is freedom. What is the purpose of freedom? I submit that that purpose is truth. Freedom gives us the best opportunity to discover truth. And as you're all very familiar with, in the Bible it talks about how the truth will make us free. Truth and freedom have that mutual relationship. Freedom allows us to discover truth, and truth magnifies our freedom. The Constitution is that inspired document which leads us in that way.
I based every decision I made on the Constitution. It's why I stand against gun control. It's why I stand for the pro-life position. The Constitution is why I believe that we have to get the control of our money supply back to the representatives of the people, and why I've pushed so hard against the Federal Reserve System. And I'll tell you this, I can argue, leaders of my own party can get upset at me for taking some of these positions and say, oh, we're going to lose all these campaign contributions. I believe in the Republican platform. My party when it's right, my Constitution always, forever. That's the way I look at it.
It is the oath of a senator to support and defend the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. Anyone who on this panel holds up a Constitution and says that they believe in that oath, and then they also say they are for free trade practices that are selling our and trading our freedom, do not understand the Constitution's under attack and how to remedy it, or they're part of that problem. I support the Limited Enumerated Powers Act that John Shattuck and Tom Coburn are sponsoring, and I also would use Article 3 to limit jurisdiction. Article 1, Section 8 is the definition of what I do as a senator and what I'm limited to, and I support that totally and wholeheartedly. Thank you.
There's a book called named The 5,000-Year Leap. It teaches about the 28 principles that our founding fathers used to formulate the Constitution. The problem that we have is most people do not understand it in our country. In reality, you are the control over the Congress and over government, because you're the ones that vote these people in or out. And it's up to you to really know and understand that. And if everybody knew it, we would be in a whole lot better shape than we are in right now.
The short answer is, when it comes to obeying the original intent of the Founding Fathers when they wrote the Constitution, I am strictly kosher. There are several amendments that have been passed since that I think are against the original intent that I'd like to repeal. I also believe that the legislature should much more often use their ability to censure, and then, if they don't concern themselves with the censure, impeach those people in the executive and judicial branch that refuse to obey the intent of the Constitution.
I agree with George Washington, who in 1790 said, "The Constitution of the United States must mark the line of my official conduct." He didn't say, what marks the line of my official conduct is what the Supreme Court will allow me to get away with. He said, the Constitution, the words as they're written, as they're still written today, and as they were understood by the founding generation, that's what he meant. That's what would mark the line of my official conduct. I would not consider the Constitution to be whatever the Supreme Court will allow me to get away with, but the Constitution itself, which does not change.
But yet the Constitution has changed. Women have the right to vote. Women have the right to vote. They didn't have the right to vote. Slaves are free. The way we elect our president and vice president has changed. The way that the president is succeeded. These have changed. And they've changed because the people decide that the Constitution has to have a good foundation in not only the way that it was originally intended, but the way that it works for us today. He would have to tell you that basically women don't have the right to vote, that slaves are not free. He said the Constitution does not change, but we know that it does. We know that the amendments have added to the Constitution. That's the way that our Constitution works. If we believe that the judiciary has too much power, then we need to put an amendment in the Constitution that limits that. We can't just simply say that this is the way the Constitution is. We have to work through that issue.